Welcome to Left 4 Blood. Welcome to Back 4 Dead. Welcome to Back 4 Blood, the 2021 shooter that bears resemblance only to games that use the number in the place of the word 4. Since its release, Back 4 Blood has received 3 expansions, all bringing new content from cleaners to enemy types to new acts in the main campaign. Upon release, the game received criticism for bearing similar resemblance to Valve's Left 4 Dead series and being extremely difficult on the game's easiest of difficulties. I can vouch for that, as the last act of the base game took me 14 tries to beat. The game revolves around character builds that utilize cards, which give buffs to the character skills, with some having trade-offs for their increased value. This includes cards that increase weapon accuracy at the detriment of not being able to aim down sights, so get ready to fire from the hip. The difficulty turned away a bunch of people from the game, including my friends who quickly left it for dead, never coming back for blood. In the year 2023, Turtle Rock Studios announced that they would be moving on from the game to work on another project within the studio, confirming that there will not be new content added to the game moving into the future. One side of the fanbase can receive this news as negative, as there won't be any new cards, skins, or cleaners added to the game, giving less incentive to play and unlock new items. Then there's a positive perspective that I am leaning towards, where the game has entered a finalized state that allows for players to enter a game where they can collect cosmetics and master all the acts without fear that new builds will be coming with the addition of new drops and characters, and allows to play the game in its most complete state. So what have people been missing since launch? Tunnels of Terror launched on April 12th, 2022. Introducing 2 new cleaners to the game, mutations that alter gameplay, 12 new weapon skins, new cards, and the addition of Ridden Hives, sub-levels that were added to the original 4 acts of the game that players could dive through and collect skull totems, a new currency that purchases separate tracks in the supply lines. These can range from having fun obtaining the unique melee weapons and slaying the Ridden to getting absolutely blasted by special mobs that prey on your downfall. This expansion can almost be entirely skipped, as it relies on the player to jump into these optional hives through the normal levels in the game. When matchmaking, the majority of players need to huddle around the hive, so if you are the only player that wants to run a hive, tough luck, it's not going to happen. Time to hop onto comms and start yelling at your new teammates. Fortunately, the game added an offline mode a few months before, allowing for players to choose a solo experience and run the game with bots posing as cleaners. The second expansion, Children of the Worm, launched on August 30th, featuring 1 new cleaner, another 12 weapon skins, and the addition of new enemy types called cultists, human enemies that throw, shoot, and spray arrows at the cleaners. This expansion is complemented as the 5th act in the game, featuring 5 brand new chapters for the player to walk through. There's new items that players can hold in their inventory, including the bait jar, a throwable item that attracts Ridden wherever thrown, a bear trap that locks an enemy into place, a bow that takes up a secondary slot and features unlimited arrows to sling, and the Iron Claw is the best thing to happen to video games in the calendar year 2022. This pack leans into the idea of having guided fun through the slaughtering Ridden with a loose story to reel you back into the world, with enough items to keep the player coming back into the game. The best part, these items had Ridden also cross over into other acts of the game, as they aren't isolated within the act itself. The last expansion, River of Blood, was released on December 6th, completing the 2022 calendar year and eventually the end of Back 4 Blood. The DLC adds Act 6 into the game, wrapping up the story. I believe the story is secondary to the gameplay, but it's serviceable and worth watching the cutscenes when running through the missions for the first time. The newest mutation, Sentinels, are a creature that consists of a colony of worms, similar to another game's enemy. They can spew gas, expel swarms onto the cleaners, and create fire projectiles that are quickly lobbed at the enemies. 1 new cleaner was added, yet another 12 weapon skins, and the addition of melee weapon attachments, finally allowing for the player to customize their melee weapons for a true build to revolve around those sweet Iron Claws. This weapon wreaks havoc on every enemy type and clears fields of razor worms that are spawned in from the Sentinels mentioned earlier. There also comes the addition of a new game mode, Trial of the Worm, that is an arcade mode that adds multiplayers to your score based on however many detriments you want to add to your experience. Compete for high scores, play with your friends, do whatever you want with it. The best part about the expansions is that if one person in your party has purchased the content, everyone that's in the lobby can play as long as they're together in the same party playing the same content. This is an amazing feature and something that I wish more developers would consider when adding content to a game. I was fortunate enough to purchase the expansion pass and even had Oscar playing some of the newer levels with me, and he was having fun too. So, my verdict, Back 4 Blood worth coming back to? Yeah, I think it is. The difficulty of the game has been completely reworked, with the easiest difficulty being casual and offering a laid-back experience to the game. There's a new difficulty in the game titled No Hope, which is where all the bullshit in the game resides. The original 3 difficulties are easily manageable, as I was able to complete the final boss by myself on Nightmare, something that was extremely close to impossible at launch. Being able to collect new items around the map make the gameplay more interesting and add to the scavenging aspect of the game. These items included mementos that increase scrap earned at the end of the mission to purchase new weapons, refill ammo, and purchase character upgrades, to cans and boxes of food that slowly regenerate health for the duration of the mission. The game drew lots of comparisons to Left 4 Dead, and for good reason. It was used in the marketing that the creators worked on both installments of Valve's game, and the game didn't have a lot of variety of gameplay at launch to distance itself from the comparisons. Moreover, the addition of the new expansions and stream of new gameplay features, weapons, items, game modes, ridden, cleaners, tweaking of the difficulties, and added strategy of making the experience yours make this game worthwhile to revisit. With it being included in Game Pass from day one, current subscribers really have nothing to lose if they want to try this game again. And if you can find a friend or community of people that own the DLC, the game is crossplay, so it's possible to unlock even more without having to spend anything else. This game isn't bad, and I think it deserves more respect for Total Rock polishing off a rocky start and making this into a blast to play. The game isn't perfect, and it still has a couple of hurdles that I wish they would have addressed, such as not giving Carly any more skins than she already has, but that's okay. That's a topic for another day. I'm also aware of the PvP mode in this game. I just never played it, so I don't really have an opinion on it.